Yo guys, Arm&Gun here. Today we're going to talk about the PS90 or P90, but this is the civilian model, which is semi-automatic only. So that's the only difference between the P90 and the PS90. The S stands for semi-automatic. So this is in 5.7 by 28, which is this little guy. I'll talk about that in a second. The lower is marked with the manufacturer, Fabrique Nationale Herstel in Belgium, FNH. And let's talk about this little thing. This is super, super cool. So these came about, I believe, I didn't check my dates or anything, I'm just like general knowledge. These came out of a UN request for a PDW, like a personal defense weapon, that was chambered in a round that could defeat, you know, basic body armor, stuff such that like pistol caliber rounds of the day, like 9mm, couldn't do. So they put the tender out, and these would have been primarily for support staff, to have a more capable firearm. People like helicopter pilots, tank pilots or drivers, medics, other support staff that wouldn't be issued a full, assault rifle or battle rifle. So, and otherwise would have just had a simple sidearm like a Red M9 or something like that, or 1911. So this was meant to give them like I said, a more fighting chance if they ever encountered a close, firefight up close. So they put the tender out. Both FNH and HK responded, and that's where this was the one iconic gun that came out of it. And HK didn't disappoint either with the MP7, and both took proprietary rounds. This one was the one that FNH used, the 5.7 by 28. So this is a 40 grain projectile. This is the Hornady VMAX bullet, and it's small. This is a little tiny round, like compared to even a 223, which is already not a very large round. This thing is super tiny. Just to a little more scale, there's a 308. So 308, 223, 5.56, and 5.7 by 28. So this is a tiny little round. Both of these, the 223 and the 5.56, or sorry, the 223 and the 308 are going upwards of 3,000 feet per second. Again, I should have my homework. This is in excess of 2,000, but I'm not quite sure what it is. It is quick though, and there are a variety of different loadings. Typically the civilian ones are a bit more underpowered because they freaked out about the body penetrating capabilities of some of them. This is the actual box these come in. I think these are just a white label that I think this is just, I could be wrong, but like federal, like American Eagle ammo that's just white labeled for FNH. But it's their brand, that's the designation of the round. They all kind of varied depending what they actually were. Some of them are hotter, some of them are different cores that were more, armor penetrating. But anyways, that's most commonly what you'll see civilians using is for plinking ammos for this stuff. So there are a variety of different loadings. I just don't know a whole lot about them. But the gun itself, again, I really enjoy it. Versus the MP7, which HK has always just been funny about releasing their military stuff to civilians. So they haven't made direct copies of the military guns for civilians. Like when you had the G36, they made the SL8. And it's like that's supposed to satisfy, firearm collectors that want a G36. Like, no. So HK guns, just because of that, they're like getting your hands on the actual thing or the actual semi-automatic versions. Like, it's hard and they're freaking expensive. But honestly, like FNH, this gun, the FS2000, the FS2000 is a whole different animal, or the FS2000. But this guy, honestly, like, these aren't that uncommon. They're uncommon enough, but they're available, so like the price isn't crazy. Like if these things were as rare as MP7s, like I honestly think this is a better gun than the MP7, in my opinion, which is pretty limited, and take it for what it's worth. I haven't actually handled an MP7, so it's not really fully fair for me to say that, but the PS90 is so iconic, and they really just reinvented this thing. Like it's completely ambi safety down there, which you can access from both sides. The cocking handles, the magazine release, the ejection, it ejects out the bottom. You can also put a little brass catcher in there if you want to keep your brass, or if you just want to keep your firing space neat. This is so cool and such a departure from what was the norm that honestly I just gotta say, like they thought outside the box. And the MP7 obviously is super iconic too. It's just, it was great and was adopted by a lot of police forces and special units as well, but this thing is just, it's just something else, and it works really well, and it's been around for like this 30 years later. This thing is still super, 25, whatever it is. This is still super unique and iconic and looks like a space gun. So that's really cool. I really appreciate that. I do one complaint would be that the charging aspect is pretty rudimentary. It's ambi for sure, but these don't leave a lot of room for to grab them. There is a company that makes extended caulking handles and extended magazine release, which are both a little bit tricky. I mean, I think if you're under stress or had gloved hands, it could be a little tricky to grab those. But otherwise, I mean, actually holding the weapon, super comfortable in either hand. And this keeps your hand away from the front. Also, not to mention, they cram it. This is a 10.4-inch barrel with a flash hider. That's all crammed into this package. Like that's pretty cool. So MP7 definitely doesn't do that. But that's just a characteristic of a bullpup design. I can't really speak to what the safety or the trigger pull is like on an MP7, but on this is clear, by the way. I'm gonna show the chamber later, but it is clear. The trigger pull isn't, I mean, it's nothing. It breaks pretty quick, but it's light. You just don't really know when it's gonna go. I'm not sure what the MP7 trigger is like in comparison, but again, just a super cool gun. Obviously only to 2 positions on this gun, but the P90 would have 3 of course. Otherwise, I think they're pretty much an identical gun, which is cool. There are different versions, like there's a low optics mount. I don't have for this, but it goes in there. You can also get like a little side rail, pick rail for this. This is a big optic. The cool thing about this optics rail though is it does have irons inside. I'm not gonna be able to show this with the camera properly. No, I'm just not going to be able to, but there's the rear sight in here and there's a little front post here. And you can actually, you know, it's not very easy because it's such a tiny aperture and not a very long sight radius, but you can use it in a pinch. And you can have, you know, you can have an optic above it as well. So for example, there's a little aim point H1 on the ADM mount. Like it's pretty, you know, that works. That's typically how I run it. And again, this is just such a fun gun to plink with. I really enjoy it. This isn't the factory muzzle device. This is a Voltor, just a flash hider. It looks good. I'm happy with it, but I might grab the actual factory one at some point just for authenticity. The magazines pop right out. It's really unique how these work. Again, 50 rounds of this cartridge inside here. Like that's pretty respectable. When the rounds come in, I guess to demonstrate it was clear. This is just a blowback though. So very simple operation. And really, you can see the bolt face, you can see the bolt face down there. Just blowback operation. Cycles them out the bottom. What's cool though is here's a loaded mag. And I apologize, being in Canada, our semi-automatic center fire rifles are restricted to 5 rounds. And so this is pinned to 5. It's kind of stupid. This one got the whole spring is pinned at 5, which is dumb. You actually just have to pin it to the follower, so you can't physically load more than 5 rounds in. So I need to have this redone because that's a pain, and these are really hard to load. But what's cool is, I mean, they load in sideways. You can see them. You can see them in there. And in the process of being fed into the gun, they spin 90 degrees. So I'll pop this guy out and then just watch the next one come up. Sorry, too fast. Actually, it's easier if I load one in. So I'm loading one in. You can see it start to it folds back. It just rotates. And how they got that to be reliable, man, that's some clever engineering. Anyways, the gun takes apart super simple. Button here, the 2 upper and lower just pull right off, and then you do some stuff back here and get the trigger pack out and the bolt out, and it's slick, man. It's really slick. So I'm gonna do a separate video really quick that's just a simple, you know, tear down of this gun, and I'll post that as well. I do want to start doing quick takedown, quick disassembly videos that are super quick and dirty, and I think that'll be of use. I've got enough platforms, enough designs, and enough gun types. I think that'll be good to have out there. But anyways, I want to talk about this gun on its own because it is really unique, really iconic, and I really just have a lot of respect for it. I guess really quickly here, 5.7 by 28, 9 mil. That's what the difference in the rounds looks like. So quite a stark, it was a huge take. was such a departure from what the typical, you know, sidearm pistol caliber carbine, pistol caliber round was in the day. So just a lot of respect for FNH and HK for the MP7 for these guns. I think they're super cool. Respect the heck out of them. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. In the disassembly video, I'm going to show this case really quickly, because when you pull the gun apart, you pop it in here. It's a cool case. It's a cool case. You actually can fit a an FNH 5.7 in there too. It's kind of cool, the handgun. Anyways, thanks guys. See you next time.